I got asked a good question the other day, and it's why do I have so many lighters when purely you could just get any good old lighter and it would be good enough, right? And I sort of went into some replies to that, and I get that sort of question quite a lot, so I thought I'd go into it. But firstly, like many of you know, I actually like to collect lighters. I like to collect lots of weapon related stuff, obviously lots of gas masks and respirators. But I like to collect a lot of lighters and see, you know, the difference in how they work and which designs are better than others. In general, if I find something interesting, I like to collect a lot of them if I can do it without spending loads of money. So yeah, that is a good question. Can't you just use any old lighter? And it depends what you want it for. What I've basically always said is if you want a lighter for just lighting cigarettes, you can probably just get most cheap lighters. I wouldn't go for the very cheapest sort of dollar store, Poundland kind of lighters where you get a pack of, you know, disposable lighters, because they're not very good. They blow out easily, you know, if it's windy and stuff, and often they don't strike very well and they don't have much fuel in, so you know, they're not very good lighters. I've always said if you want to go down the cheapo end of getting lighters, or at least getting disposable lighters, you get Bics, just because Bics are good for being a disposable lighter, but better you could get a clipper lighter and just keep refilling it very cheaply. You'd save a lot more money doing that, and it's a better lighter. So by clipper I mean one of these. You know, strikes easy, easy to hold button, flame increases if you turn it at that angle, otherwise it's a smaller flame. But yeah, I can't really go wrong with clippers. You know I talk about them a lot, but they are good lighters. As said, Bics are also good lighters. The cheapo lighters I'm on about are these ones. I'm sure you know what these are. So they don't hold much fuel in their fuel tank. You normally get a pack of them, you know, from a store somewhere. Can't remember if I've modified all of mine to become flamethrower lighters. Yeah, I have. But yeah, these aren't very practical at all, just because the fuel runs out really quickly. And I said they're not very good, unless you make the flame big, they're not very good for not getting blown out, because, you know, they have no wind protection or anything on them. So, you know, as I said, it depends. How I look at it is, for lighters, is yes, if you want a lighter for cigarettes or something like that, any lighter that's good will really do. The issue is when you want a lighter for a more specialised thing, and then you have to think of it like it's a tool. And if you want a tool, you need the right tool for the job, yeah? You can't go around with a hammer and smack everything with a hammer. So it's kind of like saying if you're lighting a cigarette, that's something all of your tools could do. I know that maybe that's not a good analogy, but you know, the idea is that if you're doing one job with it that everything can do, yeah, you don't really need to fuss much about which lighter to get. The issue then becomes, once you need a lighter for something specific, whether it's like a survival camping use, you know, use at high altitude, you know, all these sorts of factors come in, and suddenly a lot of lighters that would work aren't very good. Like I said, if you want cheaper lighters, the Torjet type ones are good, which are jet lighters, very cheap. They're refillable as well. I've heard after a while they gunge up. I'm sure if you use the proper, you know, butane torch lighter fluid, which is butane that's more refined to not gunge up higher pressure points, then these you could keep refilling and using fine. But as these are so cheap to buy, you can normally get like 5 for a couple of quid or something like that. You might as well buy a load of them, just keep refilling them up with the cheap butane, and when they break, throw them away, because that way you save a lot more money. You want to use high quality butane on good jet lighters basically. But yeah, these are like a really good cheap alternative to you know, a Bic. They're kind of Bic shaped. They hold quite a bit of fuel. You can actually check the fuel level at the bottom of them, and they'll light stuff easily even if it's windy, because they're jet lighters. So yeah, that's all that. So as I said before, there's yeah, Zippos are great. I prefer Imcos to Zippos personally, but again, they're great, but the issue is lighter fluid runs out quickly. If you're carrying lighter fluid around with you, yeah, that's not a problem, but you know, for a lot of people that would be. And you have to think more and more about different things that you might be using a lighter for, and then when it becomes good and bad to use that lighter. So there you go. Hopefully that's a straightforward enough answer for you. Yes, if you want a lighter for cigarettes, I can't really see a problem. It's like when all the people moaned at me because I was talking about electric arc lighters, and I said, you know, these are great, but the sellers advertise them as doing everything, when really all they do is light cigarettes. People said, but the point of a light is to light cigarettes. Oh yeah, that probably is. But, you know, the issue is that if you're a seller, and you have a product, and you say it does all these things, and it can only do one of those things on the list, you're mis-selling the product. So, Again, as I was saying, if you just want a lighter for cigarettes, I think any decent lighter would do the job. That's primarily what people use them for. Once you start getting into the kind of other needs of a lighter, like more utility needs, that's when you have to start getting a lot more fussy. Now, there is one thing I will quickly show you. I've done videos on this before, where I think if you want a utility lighter for anything, these are really practical things. They don't cost too much. Let me just go grab it. Now, one of these is probably like the most practical thing you can get. Yeah, it's not going to fit in a pocket, but if you wanted a lighter for something, I really like these kind of blowtorch kitchen lighters. So it's got a big ignition button there. As you can hear, it uses up a lot of sort of fuel. But it's got a massive fuel tank. The entire handle is a fuel tank, and it came pre-filled when I bought this, and I haven't yet had to fill it despite using it quite a lot. So obviously if I was taking it out to use it, I'd make sure it was fully filled. But it's got an adjustable flame thing on the side there, so if I put it on the lowest setting, you know, you get a little bit of almost like a pilot light there, but not really much. If I put it, you know, a third of the way up, I get it to light. There you go, you've got like a little tiny jet flame that would last ages. And then yeah, put it all the way up, you get your big jet flame. On this you can also adjust the amount of oxygen that goes in as well. I think this is fully open. Yeah, it would be. And then you can also do that to close, but I mean absolutely closed is useless because it just turns the lighter off. But if we have it partially open, you can adjust the flame that way, as you can see. And what's quite cool is you can actually have it so it becomes a conventional flame with this lighter rather than a jet flame. So if I just turn the fuel down again, I might not get it to light now, but yeah, because I've closed the port, so what I have to do is then open the port and then turn it that way. But yeah, you can then have this as a conventional lighter if you didn't want it as a jet lighter. So yeah, how cool is this? As I said, you can get these kind of lighters very cheaply from Amazon. They're a lot more practical than little lighters if you want something for a bit more heavy use. So again, these are a good alternative to keep in a rucksack or something with other stuff if you wanted to use it as a jet lighter. I guess a safety feature on these is you could fully close the oxygen port, put the flame all the way down, then if the button gets pressed in your bag, it's not going to start a fire. So hope that's explained your answer on why, you know, for people who want it for a practical reason, you can't just use any old lighter.